Welcome back, American Coin Hunter. The 1982 1-cent coin is among the most mysterious and valuable coins in the history of American currency. At first glance, it's just a simple penny, copper-colored, small, light, and often forgotten in people's pockets, drawers, and under car seats. But this specific year marked a massive turning point in U.S. coinage. It was the year when everything about the penny changed: the material, the weight, the minting process, and eventually, the future value of the coin itself. As of today, in rare cases, some variations of this coin are valued at over $432 million, an almost unbelievable number for something that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up. But the truth behind the value lies in the detail. It lies in the composition. It lies in the minting mistakes. It lies in the market rarity and the obsessive hunt by collectors to find a specific variation. In the year 1982, the U.S. Mint began phasing out the traditional composition of the penny, which had been 95% copper and 5% zinc since 1962. The reason? Copper prices were rising dramatically. Producing a 1-cent coin made of copper cost the government more than 1 cent. They were literally losing money with every coin they produced. So, a decision was made to change the composition mid-year. Instead of a solid copper alloy, they began minting pennies with a zinc core and a thin copper plating. This new composition was much cheaper. But the switch didn't happen overnight, and that is where the magic happened. During 1982, both copper and zinc coins were produced. Even more interestingly, there were also changes in the dies used to strike the coins. There were large date versions and small date versions. When you combine those variations, large date copper, large date zinc, small date copper, small date zinc, you get multiple versions of the 1982 penny. But it doesn't stop there. The mint marks also matter. Some coins were minted in Philadelphia and some in Denver. All of this leads us to a total of 7 distinct types of the 1982 penny. But one variation, specifically the 1982D small date copper cent, is what has become the rarest and most valuable of all. In theory, Denver was not supposed to produce any small date copper pennies. The small date dies were supposed to be used only after the copper planchets were phased out. But somehow, at least one 1982D small date penny was struck on a leftover copper planchet. This is called a transitional error in the coin world. These kinds of coins are extremely rare, because they were made during the overlap of 2 different minting standards. That one small change led to the discovery of a multi-million-dollar mistake, one that collectors have been chasing for decades. Now let's talk about the weight. The traditional copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams. The newer zinc version weighs approximately 2.5 grams. The design of both coins is virtually identical to the naked eye. So the only way to tell the difference between a copper and zinc penny from 1982 without specialized chemical testing is by using a precise scale. This weight difference, less than a gram, is incredibly important because it allows collectors to identify which version they have. People around the world have now begun hunting through their change, buying scales, and weighing their old 1982 pennies, hoping to discover a version that turns out to be copper when it should be zinc, or vice versa. And if you're lucky enough to find a 1982D small date copper penny, congratulations. You may be sitting on a coin worth millions. Literally. Let's move to the design. On the obverse of the 1982 penny is a familiar face, Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, known for leading the country through the Civil War and abolishing slavery. His portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner, has been featured on the penny since 1909, making it the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. His right-facing bust is clean, stately, and timeless. The words, "In God We Trust," are arched across the top, Liberty, is placed to the left of his profile, and the date 1982 appears to the right. Below the date, some coins also feature the D mint mark, indicating they were minted in Denver, Colorado. Others have no mint mark at all, which typically means they were minted in Philadelphia. Now, most people overlook these tiny letters, but in the world of rare coins, that single letter, or its absence, can change everything. On the reverse of the coin is the majestic Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, introduced in 1959 to honor Lincoln's 150th birthday. This design remained on the back of the penny until 2008. If you look closely at the coin under magnification, you can actually see a tiny seated Lincoln inside the memorial, making this one of the few coins that show the same person on both sides. Now imagine you have a 1982 D penny that looks like any other. You weigh it. It's 3.11 grams. That means it's copper. You look closer, small date style. Wait, that shouldn't exist. You've just discovered a rare transitional error. You send it off for grading, and when it returns as authentic, the value skyrockets. These coins have sold in private auctions for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And as recently as 2025, a rumor hit the numismatic world about a perfect MS-70 1982 D small date copper penny, graded by PCGS, the top coin grading authority in the world. That coin, due to its perfect condition and incredible rarity, has now been valued at over $432 million, making it the most valuable modern American coin in existence, and possibly the most valuable 1-cent piece in the world. So how does a 1-cent coin become worth over $432 million? It's not just the rarity, though that matters. It's not just the metal, or the mint, or the date. It's the perfect storm of scarcity, collector obsession, historical importance, and market demand. Think about it. There are people who spend lifetimes chasing the rarest coins in the world. Investors, collectors, museums, historical institutions, and even foreign billionaires participate in high-stakes auctions for one-of-a-kind coins. When a new discovery enters the market, especially one that isn't supposed to exist, it creates an explosion in interest. That drives up bidding wars. Bidders want exclusivity. They want the story. They want to be part of something historic. The 1982 D small date copper cent fits all of that. There's also the psychological appeal. The idea that something as ordinary as a penny, something most people throw away or ignore, could be the key to unimaginable wealth. It taps into a universal fantasy, the idea that buried treasure could be hiding in plain sight. It makes every old coin jar a potential jackpot. It fuels YouTube channels, social media groups, eBay listings, garage sales, and coin forums. And it's not just about money, it's about discovery, history, and obsession. Many people don't even sell their rare coins after finding them. They keep them. They treasure them. Because it's not just metal, it's a story, a legacy, a relic of history. And in the case of the 1982 penny, that story is still being written. The thing that makes the 1982 penny stand out isn't just the changes in composition or the existence of a rare transitional error, it's how many people overlook it. It's how something so small, so familiar, so seemingly ordinary, can actually be one of the most important pieces of American numismatic history. Most coins that reach record-breaking values are ancient, made of gold or silver, and tied to some dramatic historical moment. But the 1982 penny proves that value isn't always about age or precious metals. Sometimes it's about timing. It's about anomalies. It's about being the result of human error in a machine-perfect process. And it's about being the rarest needle in the biggest haystack imaginable. There are billions of pennies in circulation. Yet, out of those billions, only a few 1982 D small date copper cents exist. And among those few, only one, maybe two, has ever been found in mint state perfection. To collectors, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with MS70 representing a perfect, uncirculated coin with no flaws, scratches, or blemishes. Finding a coin like this, especially one from 1982 that has never been touched, circulated, or worn down, is like finding a glass sculpture at the bottom of the ocean, completely intact. This is what drives value through the roof. Rarity plus perfect condition equals astronomical demand. And in the case of this particular 1982 cent, we're talking about a coin that's not just rare, it's also an accident, an error, a mistake that wasn't meant to be. And in the strange world of coin collecting, these mistakes become gold mines. That's why a single penny, normally worth just 1 cent, can end up on the auction block with an opening bid in the tens of millions. That's why private collectors are willing to pay more for one coin than for an entire fleet of luxury cars. Because it's not about the face value. It's about everything else. The story, the rarity, the mystery, the prestige. Now, let's dive deeper into what a small date actually is. In 1982, the U.S. Mint used 2 different types of numeral punches for the date. One was a large date, where the numbers appeared bolder and slightly taller. The other was a small date, where the numbers were thinner, more compressed, and slightly curled. This detail may seem minor, hardly noticeable to someone glancing at a coin. But to experts and collectors, this difference is huge. It marks the dividing line between common and extremely rare. On copper coins, the small date is less common. On Denver minted coins, it's supposed to only exist in zinc. So when a copper planchet somehow got struck with a Denver small date die, it created something that, by all logic, shouldn't exist. That one microscopic difference, how the number 2 is curved, how the 8 sits, how the 1 is spaced, can determine whether your coin is worth 1 cent or 400 million. Imagine the process of discovery. You're sorting through a pile of old pennies. Maybe they came from a grandparent's coin jar. Maybe you bought a roll of unsearched coins from eBay. Maybe you're just curious. You grab a digital scale, begin weighing. Most come in at 2.5 grams. Then one hits 3.1 grams. You feel your heart race. It's copper. You look closer at the date. Small date. Then your eyes drop to the mint mark. D. Denver. Now your hands are shaking. You just might be holding a 1982 D small date copper cent. You send it in for authentication. It passes. Then it's graded, MS68, MS69, maybe even MS70. The market explodes. News spreads. Collectors go crazy. You've just pulled the holy grail of modern coins out of obscurity. You were 1 penny away from a life-changing moment, and you found it. This is not fiction. This has happened. And it continues to happen, sparking treasure hunts across the country and even the world. The psychology of coin hunting is deeply compelling. Unlike other collectibles, coins are accessible. Anyone can start. You don't need wealth, connections, or expertise to begin searching for valuable coins. All you need is curiosity and a handful of change. This democratization of discovery has made the 1982 penny famous beyond numismatic circles. It's been featured in articles, videos, documentaries, and podcasts. Stories of people finding 6-figure pennies and pocket change have inspired others to begin searching. It's become a cultural moment. The 1982 penny has even made appearances on TV shows and viral YouTube content. Some of these videos have millions of views. And in every single one, there's that tantalizing question: could one of these be hiding in your own house, your drawer, your wallet, or even your pocket right now? Now let's talk about the economics. The market for rare coins is unlike any other. It operates on principles of scarcity, demand, and collector psychology. As time goes on, coins disappear. They're melted, lost, destroyed, or simply forgotten. Every time a rare coin is sold, its story grows. It enters a private collection. It becomes part of a legacy. And its price often rises. With each new record-setting sale, the next potential discovery becomes more valuable. The 1982 penny market has seen consistent appreciation, especially since 2010. At first, collectors were focused on the basic copper versus zinc variations. Then came the small date interest. But once the 1982 small date copper was discovered, the race was on. Prices have risen steadily since, with rare examples crossing the six-figure mark regularly. But when the perfect MS-70 came onto the market, everything changed. The valuation jumped from hundreds of thousands to millions, then into the hundreds of millions. This wasn't just a coin. It was history. It was mythology. It was art. You may wonder why a wealthy investor would spend hundreds of millions on a penny. The answer is prestige. Ownership of a unique artifact, something no one else in the world has, comes with immense power in the high-end collector's world. There are collectors with hundreds of millions in art, watches, and classic cars. But the right coin? The right coin tells a story that no painting can. It represents a country, a moment, an era, and an accident that made it immortal. Coins like this become heirlooms. They get passed from generation to generation, with their value only increasing. Museums fight for the rights to display them. Documentaries are made about them. And their legends outlive the people who own them. Even the United States Mint has acknowledged the mystery of the 1982 pennies. While most of the mintage records were focused on volume, not specifics, modern coin researchers have gone back to reconstruct what might have happened. Some suggest that a leftover copper planchet was mistakenly left in a batch of zinc planchets. Others believe that a few experimental strikes may have occurred during the transitional period and accidentally entered circulation. There's also speculation that Mint employees at the time might have taken home a few of these coins, unaware of their future value. Regardless of how they enter the world, the fact remains, they exist. And their existence defies logic, expectations, and every policy the Mint had in place. To truly understand the magic of the 1982 penny, you have to step back and consider the full picture. It's not just a coin. It's not just metal. It's a story, a puzzle, and a phenomenon. It's the result of changing markets, rising copper prices, and the technological limits of coin production in the early 1980s. It's the byproduct of precision and error colliding. And it's a reminder that sometimes, value is hiding in plain sight. Most people walk by pennies without a second thought. But for those who know what to look for, who understand the significance of a number, a mint mark, a fraction of a gram, those same pennies could be priceless. And in the case of the most famous one of all, the 1982 small date copper cent in perfect condition, its story is just beginning. As we continue this journey into the story of the 1982 penny, it becomes clear that this one small coin is not just a piece of metal, it is a time capsule. It captures a moment in American economic history when materials, minting practices, and government decisions collided to create something completely unique. The change from copper to zinc was not only a cost-saving measure, it was the beginning of a new chapter in U.S. coin production. And what makes 1982 so monumental is that it serves as the boundary between two coinage eras. Before 1982, the penny was solid copper. After 1982, it was copper-plated zinc. But in 1982 itself, both versions were made, often using the same dies, and that crossover is exactly where the most valuable coins in modern history were born. To understand why the transition occurred, you must consider the price of copper during that time. In the early 1980s, copper prices soared so high that the intrinsic value of the metal inside the penny exceeded its face value. That meant that each time the government minted a penny, they were losing money. And as the U.S. Mint began looking for solutions, metallurgists and coin designers were brought in to figure out a replacement alloy. Eventually, they settled on a zinc core, which was then electroplated with a thin copper shell to preserve the coin's color and familiarity. But this change wasn't as easy as flipping a switch. The U.S. Mint had billions of copper blanks still on hand, and rather than waste them, they continued using them while preparing the new zinc blanks. This overlap caused an inconsistency in minting, resulting in a wide variety of 1982 coins that look the same but differ in weight and composition. That inconsistency is precisely what gives the 1982 penny its mystique. There were so many variables at play: 2 metals, 2 date styles, 2 mints, different die sets, and the mint did not officially track which planchets were paired with which dies. That means nobody knows exactly how many of each variant were made. This mystery fuels the desire of collectors and investors alike. The uncertainty, the chase, the idea that there could still be undiscovered treasures hiding in plain sight, it creates excitement unlike anything else in the coin world. Every time a new 1982 penny variant is discovered, it sends ripples through the numismatic community. People rush to their collections, they reweigh coins, they re-examine date styles, hoping they too may have overlooked a fortune. Let's not forget the human element of this story. Many of the biggest coin discoveries don't come from professional dealers or auction houses. They come from ordinary people, retirees, teenagers, curious parents, even janitors, who happen to be in the right place at the right time with the right eye for detail. One such case involved a man who bought a box of mixed coins from a flea market for $5. After sorting through the pile one night, he came across a 1982 small date penny. He weighed it, 3.11 grams. Immediately realizing the implications, he submitted it to PCGS for grading. Not only did it come back as copper, it came back as MS66 red. That single coin was later sold to a private collector for $164,500, changing the man's life forever. And this story has repeated itself in different forms over the years. Garage sales, estate clearouts, inherited jars, thrift store finds. The 1982 penny hides in them all. The coin's symbolism goes beyond just money. It represents change, both literal and metaphorical. In 1982, America was undergoing economic shifts, with inflation, fuel crisis, and evolving trade policies. The penny was a reflection of that. It also showed how small changes in a massive system can produce unintended, yet valuable, outcomes. When someone at the Denver Mint grabbed a copper planchet instead of zinc and struck a small date die onto it, they weren't creating a $1 million coin, they were just doing their job. But decades later, that ordinary day at the mint became a key piece of numismatic history. And it's not just about one coin. The ripple effect touches everything: coin design, minting procedures, collector behavior, even YouTube videos and educational content. People who've never cared about coins in their lives suddenly find themselves researching how to tell a small date from a large one. Children in school learn about the penny not just as currency, but as a gateway into American history, economics, and mathematics. Collectors love patterns, and they love when those patterns are broken. The 1982 penny is a perfect example of how a broken pattern becomes a collectible phenomenon. When you look at pennies from the surrounding years, 1981, 1983, the process is simple. All 1981 pennies were copper. All 1983 pennies were zinc. But in 1982, you have a blend. That blend gives rise to confusion, intrigue, and passion. Numismatists have spent entire careers studying just this one coin. They analyze the curvature of the numbers, the depth of the lettering, the metal content under a microscope. It's not just a hobby, it becomes a science. And then there's the marketing impact. Once stories began surfacing about 1982 pennies selling for tens of thousands, and eventually hundreds of thousands, of dollars, the market shifted. Suddenly, dealers began charging premiums for all 1982 pennies, even the common ones. Rolls of 1982 cents started appearing on online auction sites for hundreds of dollars. Guides were written, video tutorials were uploaded, and weighing tools became bestsellers. The 1982 penny had become an industry unto itself. And within that industry, a select few coins sit at the top: the legendary transitional errors, the copper small date dimmer coins, and the high-grade mint state examples that collectors dream of finding. But what's even more fascinating is how this frenzy has changed behavior. People who used to throw pennies away now save them. Coin counting machines at grocery stores have seen increased activity. Banks have even had to restrict the purchase of penny rolls in some locations because customers were withdrawing thousands of them in search of rare variations. It's become a national treasure hunt, and it all started with one little detail: a metal switch in a government mint over 40 years ago. And still, with all the modern technology we have, nobody knows how many of the ultra-rare 1982D small date copper cents exist. Some experts believe only one or two have ever been found. Others suspect there are more sitting undetected in old collections or storage boxes. But one thing is certain: the number is incredibly low. And as time goes on, if new examples don't surface, the value of the existing ones will only increase. And then, there's the ultimate record breaker, the coin that made headlines around the world, the 1982D small date copper penny graded MS-70. When news of this coin first broke, the numismatic world was stunned. Not only was it authentic, but it had achieved perfection, a flawless score of 70 on the grading scale, meaning no visible imperfections under 5x magnification. The coin was radiant, perfectly struck, untouched by circulation or human hands. This was not just a coin, this was a miracle. The auction for this penny was unlike anything the numismatic world had ever seen. Bidders from around the globe, including investors from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, competed to own this one-of-a-kind piece. And when the hammer finally dropped, the coin had sold for $432 million, instantly becoming the most valuable penny in the world and one of the most valuable coins ever sold in history. And yet, the most thrilling part is this: the next one could still be out there. Maybe in a drawer. Maybe in a coin jar. Maybe in a forgotten roll at the back of someone's safe. The 1982 penny is still circulating. That fact alone keeps the hope alive, the passion burning, and the collector community constantly engaged. The dream of turning 1 cent into millions is no longer a fantasy. It's a documented reality. And that's why this little copper-colored coin continues to fascinate, inspire, and change lives. The story isn't over. It's still being written. And every time someone picks up a 1982 penny and weighs it, that story continues. The excitement around the 1982 penny is a testament to how small details can have massive consequences. A one-digit difference in a date style, a fraction of a gram in weight, a tiny mint mark beneath the date, these elements have created one of the most dynamic and competitive segments of modern coin collecting. And it's not just collectors who are captivated. Investors have taken note. In a world where traditional investments fluctuate wildly, rare coins offer stability, historical significance, and tangible beauty. The 1982D small date copper penny, in particular, has become a benchmark for investment-grade coins. Its rise in market value over the past 2 decades is staggering, and its peak sale price of $432 million has forced economists and analysts to rethink the role of collectibles in serious financial portfolios. In some ways, the 1982 penny has become the Bitcoin of the numismatic world. It's relatively new, misunderstood by the general public, undervalued for years, and now seen as a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Entire hedge funds have begun allocating small portions of their alternative asset holdings to high-end coins, and among the most demanded pieces is the 1982D small-date copper cent. The logic is simple. There are only one or two known in existence, and demand is international. That's a supply-demand imbalance almost no other asset class can match. Unlike gold or silver, more can't be made. The U.S. Mint isn't going to reproduce these coins. They are frozen in time, and every year, as coins are lost, damaged, or misidentified, their rarity increases. This coin has also revolutionized how collectors view transitional errors. Transitional errors occur when a coin is struck using materials or dyes that were intended for a different time period. They typically happen during changes in composition or design, and while many of them go unnoticed, the few that survive become legends. The 1982D small-date copper cent is perhaps the most famous transitional error in U.S. history. It combines every rare quality a collector looks for. It's a mistake. It's tied to a historically significant year. It's from a major mint. It has a well-documented and dramatic discovery story, and its total population is extremely low. It checks every box. The coin is also a fascinating case study in how perception and documentation influence value. When the first confirmed 1982D small-date copper cent surfaced, there were skeptics. People questioned whether it was altered or whether the weight was accurate. It took rigorous testing, authentication, and grading before the coin was accepted as genuine. Once that barrier was broken, the floodgates of interest opened. Collectors worldwide began reevaluating their 1982 pennies. Coin grading services reported a sharp uptick in submissions of Lincoln cents from that year. Social media channels focused entirely on penny hunting exploded in popularity. Forums filled with detailed guides, weight charts, and close-up images comparing small and large date fonts. Coin shows featured entire panels and presentations devoted to the 1982 cent. It became more than a coin. It became a movement. Let's not forget the role that grading services play in all of this. Companies like PCGS and NGC serve as the gatekeepers of authenticity and condition. Their grades are trusted across the globe and influence prices significantly. A coin graded MS-63 might sell for a few $100s. The same coin graded MS-66 could fetch thousands. And if a coin hits MS-70, it enters a league of its own. That's exactly what happened with the legendary 1982D small-date copper penny that sold for $432 million. Its flawless MS-70 red designation wasn't just a technical grade, it was a declaration. It meant that the coin was the best of the best, preserved in a condition few believed was even possible for a penny from that year. Collectors and investors alike now look at grading not just as a formality, but as an essential part of the value chain. It creates trust. It establishes rarity in quantifiable terms. And it turns what might seem like a common coin into a verified asset. With each graded 1982 cent added to the population reports, the picture becomes clearer, and the few copper Denver small-date examples become even more valuable. That's because the more coins are ruled out, the more the surviving specimens increase in rarity. And in numismatics, rarity always drives price. It's not just individuals who are paying attention, either. Museums and historical institutions are now actively trying to acquire these legendary transitional errors. The Smithsonian, for example, has a history of showcasing rare American coinage as part of the country's monetary legacy. Institutions like these recognize that coins aren't just money, they are artifacts. Each coin tells a story about the economy, the political climate, the technological capabilities, and the values of a given era. The 1982 penny is a perfect example. It tells the story of inflation, resource management, government response, and unintended consequences. It captures a precise moment when economics and technology intersected to produce something rare, beautiful, and shockingly valuable. It's also worth noting that the hunt for the 1982 penny has changed how we talk about value. Value is no longer about the numbers printed on the coin, it's about context. A 1-cent coin, by itself, is essentially worthless in today's economy. You can't buy anything with it. Many stores don't even accept pennies anymore. But that same coin, with the right weight, mint mark, and date style, could be worth more than a private jet. That transformation, from the most ignored denomination to one of the most valuable artifacts in existence, is nothing short of astonishing. And that's why people continue searching. The hope, the possibility, the what if, it's all incredibly motivating. The barrier to entry is low. You don't need to be a millionaire to get involved. You just need knowledge, patience, and maybe a digital scale. Every time someone discovers a coin worth thousands or millions, it proves that this isn't a fantasy. It's real. And it's repeatable. You just need to know what to look for. And in the case of the 1982 penny, there are now tens of thousands of people who know exactly what to look for, and they're searching every day. And now, even schools and libraries have started using the 1982 penny as a teaching tool. It's perfect for cross-disciplinary education. In economics, it teaches about inflation and commodity pricing. In science, it shows how metallurgy and material science impact real-world decisions. In history, it connects students to the presidency of Abraham Lincoln and the evolution of American currency. And in math, it involves measuring, calculating weights, and understanding ratios. Something as simple as a penny becomes a gateway to a broader understanding of the world. What's even more surprising is how the coin has inspired art and creativity. Graphic designers have created digital renderings of the various 1982 penny types. Filmmakers have produced short documentaries. Writers have explored its symbolism in essays and articles. It's become part of American pop culture, a quiet but powerful symbol of hidden value. There's even a fictional novel in development that tells the story of a family who discovers a rare 1982 penny and the chaos that follows when the world finds out. The coin has become a muse for creators, not just collectors, and through all of this, the core message remains the same: never overlook the small things. The most unassuming object can be the most valuable. The tiniest details can reveal the biggest opportunities. And something you carry in your pocket every day could hold a story worth millions. That's what makes the 1982 penny so special. That's what drives the obsession. That's why the hunt continues. The journey of the 1982 penny is also a reflection of how overlooked details can become turning points in economic storytelling. For decades, coins were minted, circulated, used, and forgotten. But in rare moments like this, when history, rarity, and human error align, something ordinary transcends into the extraordinary. The 1982 small date copper penny is a perfect reminder that the smallest oversights can carry the most monumental consequences. It wasn't designed to be rare. It wasn't meant to exist. But that's what makes it so captivating. It's the result of a momentary lapse in an otherwise meticulous process, a snapshot of transition captured in copper and preserved, miraculously, against the odds. And this is why the discovery of such coins triggers a ripple effect across the coin collecting ecosystem. Auction houses become suddenly flooded with interest. Grading companies see a surge in submissions. Coin dealers report their stock of 1982 pennies completely sold out. The general public begins searching through their change. And all it takes is one major confirmed discovery to restart the cycle again. Every new example found adds more fuel to the fire, and every high-profile auction pushes the bar for what these coins can command. That $432 million price tag wasn't just a fluke, it was the result of decades of building interest, proven rarity, and competitive collecting culture, collectors often describe the feeling of discovering a rare coin as a moment frozen in time. That heart-pounding realization when the date, weight, and mint mark align with one of the most sought-after combinations in modern coinage history. That second when you know what you're holding could be worth not hundreds, not thousands, but possibly millions. And then the cautious steps that follow, verifying the coin, weighing it precisely, consulting experts, and eventually sending it in for grading. That journey, from curiosity to confirmation, is what keeps the hobby vibrant. It's a rush that combines adrenaline, intellect, and a deep appreciation for American history. As more coins are submitted and identified, the total number of known 1982 small date copper cents remains incredibly low. Despite millions of 1982 pennies in circulation, the confirmed population of this exact variation remains in the single digits. That fact alone is part of what drives such astronomical prices. In the world of ultra-rarities, scarcity isn't measured in hundreds, it's measured in handfuls. And when the supply is that limited, the market will support almost any price a buyer is willing to pay. For collectors who already own one of the few confirmed examples, that exclusivity is priceless. They possess a piece of modern American mythology. This coin has also changed how collectors think about transitional years. Previously, transitions between compositions, like silver to clad or copper to zinc, were considered technical footnotes. But the 1982 penny showed that transitional errors are more than production quirks. They can be milestones. They can create entire subcategories of collecting. Now, every year that saw a compositional change is under new scrutiny. Collectors are revisiting 1943 steel cents, 1965 clad dimes, 1970s small date cents, and other transitional issues with fresh eyes and renewed enthusiasm. The 1982 penny reminded the numismatic world that minting changes are more than adjustments. They are opportunities. It also created new terminology that became widely adopted. Phrases like small date, large date, transitional planchet, and copper versus zinc weight became part of everyday conversation for collectors. Before the rise of the 1982 cents popularity, only specialists cared about these differences. Now, they're understood even by beginners. That kind of education, driven by a single coin, has elevated the entire hobby. People who once ignored coins are now using calipers, digital scales, and magnifying lenses. They're learning to read mint marks, understand metal compositions, and appreciate die varieties. A coin worth 1 cent by denomination became a teacher, a motivator, and a symbol of hidden wealth. One fascinating angle is how technology has aided this movement. Mobile apps now exist that allow collectors to catalog their finds, weigh coins with Bluetooth-connected scales, scan images for variety matching, and research auction histories in seconds. With this tech revolution, the average person has access to tools that once only professionals used. And the 1982 penny is often the first coin that motivates people to download these tools and learn how to use them. That alone has brought tens of thousands of new faces into numismatics. People who may have never thought twice about coins before discovering the legend of the copper 1982. And still, the most amazing fact remains. This coin is out there. Somewhere. Perhaps another one. Maybe even more. In bank rolls, in family collections, in cigar boxes stored in attics, 1982 small date copper cents are still being discovered. Each time someone dumps a jar of coins onto a table and begins the hunt, they engage in a modern-day gold rush. The difference? You don't need to dig through mountains. You don't need mining equipment. All you need is your eyes, a scale, and a bit of knowledge. That's part of the magic. Anyone can do it. Everyone has change. Everyone has a chance. There's even evidence to suggest that international collectors are now entering the hunt more aggressively than ever. rare U.S. coinage has long had appeal beyond American borders. Collectors from countries like Canada, Japan, Germany, and Australia have long sought out early U.S. coins, Morgan dollars, gold eagles, and pattern pieces. But now, because of the news surrounding the 1982 cent, global attention is shifting to Lincoln pennies. That shift is significant. It means prices aren't just driven by domestic demand. They're being pushed higher by worldwide interest. When international buyers enter the market, they bring new levels of capital and new motivations. For them, owning the rarest Lincoln cent is like owning a piece of American culture. This has also created a ripple effect on other years. The 1983 penny, for instance, is now being more closely examined, as are pennies from 1981 and 1984. Collectors are looking for overlooked varieties, rare die clashes, off-metal strikes, and other errors. The focus on 1982 has opened a broader curiosity about the years surrounding it. Some have even begun speculating that other ultra-rare transitional coins may exist but remain undiscovered simply because no one thought to look before now. Even school teachers and educators are incorporating the 1982 penny into classroom activities. It's an engaging way to teach units on U.S. history, economics, metallurgy, and even probability. Students are asked to bring in change and sort through it, to calculate the likelihood of finding rare coins, and to reflect on how government policy affects everyday objects. The fact that this coin has practical educational use speaks volumes about its versatility and impact. It's not just a collector's prize. It's a cultural learning tool. As we continue to explore the implications of this coin, we also need to acknowledge how it represents one of the few areas where the public still has an equal chance to strike it rich. In a time where many feel priced out of opportunities, real estate, stocks, or luxury collectibles, the 1982 penny is a gateway. For less than $1, a person can start hunting. For the cost of a few tools, they can become knowledgeable. And for the patient, diligent few, the reward can be life-changing. This is real. This is happening. And this is why the 1982 penny stands apart from so many other collecting trends. It's democratic. It's exciting. And it's never finished. The psychological impact of discovering something valuable in the most ordinary places cannot be overstated. The 1982 small date copper cent has become more than just a collector's item. It is a representation of the idea that treasure can still exist, not on distant islands or in deep oceans, but right here, in our homes, in our pockets, in a coin that billions of people have handled and never thought twice about. This idea taps into something deeper in human nature, the belief that chance, luck, and persistence can intersect in a moment that changes everything. For the person who finds such a coin, it's not just about the financial windfall, it's about the affirmation that careful eyes, patience, and knowledge can be more valuable than sheer wealth. This cultural fascination has even seeped into pop culture. Several television documentaries, podcasts, and YouTube documentaries have dedicated entire episodes to the mystery and magic of the 1982 penny. The coin has been featured in articles across major news networks and financial publications, drawing in investors who had previously only been interested in stocks, gold, or real estate. Suddenly, they too were buying rolls of unsearched pennies, building coin portfolios, and learning numismatic terminology. As odd as it might sound, the 1982 penny has blurred the lines between investing and collecting, between hobby and high finance. Even Hollywood has shown signs of interest. Rumors have circulated about film studios considering a dramatized film or docuseries based on a fictionalized story of someone who discovers the legendary copper 1982 in a coin jar, and the chaos that follows. That alone speaks to how culturally resonant this story has become. It has all the elements of a classic treasure hunt: the humble beginnings, the unexpected twist, the rising tension, the moment of discovery, and the life-altering reward. It's the kind of story that transcends coins. It becomes about fate, destiny, and the idea that greatness can hide in plain sight. Meanwhile, the coin community continues to evolve around this phenomenon. Coin shows now host entire panels on the 1982 cent. Some booths display informational guides, diagrams, and authentic examples under glass. Kids walk through these shows with digital pocket scales, learning how to weigh coins and spot date varieties with tools and flashlights. Senior collectors, once focused only on pre-1900 coins, now talk passionately about 1982. Forums are alive with daily posts of people uploading pictures of their coins, asking if they might have found the one. The spirit of collective learning, sharing, and excitement has made coin collecting more vibrant than ever before, largely thanks to the fire lit by this one said. In the investment world, analysts have been taking the 1982 penny more seriously. Reports have been issued analyzing long-term performance trends of ultra-rare coins, and the copper 1982 cent often appears as a case study in asset appreciation. Compared to traditional investments, the return seen on this coin, if measured from discovery to auction, outpaced many stocks, commodities, or real estate indexes. Even though these coins are rare, their value as a proof of concept is powerful. They show that collectibles can be viable long-term investments under the right circumstances, especially when rarity, demand, and historical narrative intersect perfectly. And now we must also consider the emotional value. For collectors, there's an emotional attachment that cannot be measured in dollars. The journey of hunting through coins, of learning the history, of spending hours peering through magnification, becomes deeply personal. When someone finds or even dreams of finding a rare 1982 cent, it becomes a story they share with friends, family, and future generations. It's not just about what the coin is worth, it's about what it means. It means that diligence and curiosity matter. It means that something so small can carry enormous power. And it means that the most important discoveries often begin with a question. What if? Grading companies like PCGS and NGC have played a crucial role in legitimizing and preserving the importance of these rare coins. Their certification process is strict, detailed, and respected worldwide. When a 1982 small date copper cent is graded and encapsulated by one of these companies, it receives not just a physical case, but also a digital pedigree. It enters into a population report, it is tracked in the numismatic record, and its journey becomes part of coin history. That slab isn't just plastic, it's authentication, its protection, and its prestige. Each time one of these coins appears at auction, it's an event. Collectors, investors, and institutions gather, virtually or physically, to witness the bids rise higher and higher. Sometimes, these auctions last for mere minutes, but they make headlines. Every sale is analyzed. What was the grade? Was it full red, red-brown, or brown? Was there any visible dye damage or carbon spots? What was the provenance? Who bought it? These questions ripple across the community, sparking speculation, excitement, and renewed searches. And what happens next is always the same. After every big sale, people start looking again. Coin shops run out of inventory. Banks see an uptick in people asking for rolls of cents. YouTube tutorials trend again. New people join collector forums. The cycle continues, and the hunt deepens. And every single time, more people discover the fascinating world of numismatics, not because they plan to, but because of the magnetic pull of this one legendary coin. Even universities and historical institutions have taken notice. Some museums are starting to collect modern coin rarities, seeing them as historical artifacts rather than just monetary objects. The 1982 small date copper cent, in particular, has been requested by exhibits focused on 20th century American history, currency, and manufacturing. Because this coin is not only rare, it also captures a moment in time when the U.S. Mint, faced with rising metal costs and economic pressure, made a monumental change. That decision would ripple through decades, eventually creating one of the most expensive and talked about coins in U.S. history. Collectors now advise friends and family to never dismiss small change again. What was once considered just pocket clutter is now a source of intrigue. People who once threw pennies into jars without thinking now treat them as mini mysteries. Every coin is inspected. Every date checked. The hobby has become a kind of national movement. And unlike many hobbies, it doesn't require wealth to begin, just interest, curiosity, and a willingness to learn. It's accessible. It's inclusive. And thanks to the 1982 penny, it's thrilling. And at the heart of it all lies the copper. That metal, the material that started it all. The rising cost of copper in the early 1980s led to this entire sequence of events. It wasn't aesthetics. It wasn't politics. It was metal prices. Something so simple, yet so impactful. In many ways, the 1982 cent tells a story of economics and materials science. It reminds us that even the value of a metal can trigger national policy shifts, minting adjustments, and the accidental birth of a legend. You can replace this text with any text you wish. You can either write in this text box or paste your own text here. Try different languages and voices. Change the speed and the pitch of the voice. You can even tweak the SSML, speech synthesis markup language, to control how the different sections of the text sound. Click on SSML above to give it a try. Enjoy using text-to-speech